guys, Ashley Cheeks here. Today we're going to talk about where to start when you're building your financials for your business plan. Now, it can be overwhelming to think about all of the things you have to consider. You have to do the financial pro formas in a way that is easy to understand, and you have to make sure that it includes everything that an investor or a banker is going to look for. Income statements, balance sheets, cash flows, ratios on NPV and IRR. Where do you start with all of this? The easiest place that you start, and the place where I start for every single business plan that I do, is with the cash flows. So I look at every single expense that's going out every month and every single source of revenue coming in, and that's kind of your baseline for everything else. Now, on top of that, you need to understand your startup costs, and you need to understand anything that you're going to be amortizing out, but that goes more towards the balance sheet. Again, the very, very first core starting point and the easiest starting point is just to sit down and say, okay, day one, month one, this is what's going to happen with my business that's going to cost me money, and this is what's going to get me money. These are what my sales are going to look like. Now, one thing that I need to remind you of is these are projections. These are not, fortune-telling concrete numbers that you're going to have to live and die by. They're projections, they're ballparks. They are going to be wrong. I promise you, they will be wrong. There's no way to project anything with 100% accuracy. I might give that a caveat and say generally speaking, but for almost 100%, I'm pretty sure that you really can't predict what your sales and costs are going to be to the penny before you open your doors. Usually there's an exercise that happens quarterly where businesses will make adjustments, and they'll say, this is what our projections were, and this is what reality was. And you learn from that, and you pivot, and you move forward in a way that kind of accounts for those changes you didn't see coming. So as time goes forward, you become more accurate in your projections. But at the end of the day, it is a projection. It is a guess. It is a best case or worst case or conservative case or whatever your approach is scenario to what you think your numbers might look like. Try not to beat yourself up too much if you're not 100% sure on something. Usually, if you're close or within a window, that's good enough. The business plan is a place to paint a picture. It's a place to give an idea. It's not a place to, you're not going to submit this as a tax return document next year where you have to itemize your receipts. It's not any of that. It's simply a projection. It's a forcing function to make you think about, what do I really, really need to make this business start operating? And sometimes it's less than you think. Now, one of the things I want to make sure that you remember to do is add a cushion. I've talked about this before. You want a 3-month cushion at least for most businesses to cover your operating expenses and your payroll expenses, and roll that up as kind of a startup cost. So if you need $10,000 a month to pay your people and to buy inventory, then put $30,000 in your startup cost as a lump sum to say, for the first 3 months, if anything goes wrong, I have a little bit of a cushion to draw from to cover operating costs if my sales don't match what I think they should be. All of that being said, again, projections, it's meant to be a guess. It's not to be concrete. Get as close as you can. Put some research into it, make sure you know what things cost, make sure that you're pulling quotes where necessary if you're doing any kind of construction or if you're buying large pieces of equipment, or even if you're getting a completely online based business and you have an idea for marketing. Go figure out what the cost should be for what you're trying to do, write it down, and then move on. Do not hyperanalyze it. Do not get stuck in the weeds with it, because you have other things to think about, like your market research and your operational strategy, that you're going to need to dedicate more time to.